Deep dives and blue skies. Welcome back to Talking Blue with Nick, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talking Blue, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. I am your host, Nick. You are listening to episode 93 of Talking Blue. Today, quick recap, I should say, of the Dodgers and Marlins series, which wrapped up yesterday at the time of this recording. It is Thursday, April 30th. What we are really here to talk about today is a quick first month recap. I'm going to recap a lot of the stuff that has gone on with the Dodgers the first month, all right? Like I said, it is April 30th, the last day of April. Today, Friday, the Dodgers will take on the Cardinals in St. Louis, and it'll be May 1st, all right? So 1 month of the season has already gone by. So we're going to do all that stuff. As always, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of the videos dropping. You can follow us on all social media at Talkin' Blue Pod. You can follow myself at Nick Talkin' Ball on X. Like I said, I'm going to do a quick recap of the Marlins series, but it's going to be a little different. I'm not going to run through each game. I'm just going to give the final score, a little bit of my thoughts, and then we'll move on. And really what I want to get to is, like I said, first month recap. So the first game that took place in the series was on Monday night, April 27th. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is on the mound against Chris Paddack of the Marlins. The Dodgers were able to win this game by a score of 5-4. All right, comeback fashion, walk-off fashion. Kyle Tucker, walk-off single in the ninth inning. All right, Yamamoto struggled. This is probably the most he's struggled so far this year. Didn't necessarily get hit around like crazy, but his command is where he struggled. He had 4 walks on the game. He only had 4 strikeouts. 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, 4 runs. 3 of them were unearned. 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, 1 home run, which came off the bat of Liam Hicks. It was in the 5th inning. Dodgers were ahead 2-1, 2 runners on, 2 outs. Yamamoto just left a sinker up, and Liam Hicks just dropped the head of the bat on and just pulled it into the right field corner for a 3-run homer. Put the Marlins on top, but then later in the game, the Dodgers were able to rally in the 9th inning thanks to some bad control from Pete Fairbanks trying to get the save. Dodgers were able to capitalize. So, like I said, Yamamoto struggled. His ERA is 2.87 on the year. Would like to see some of his underlying numbers improve, like barrel rates, hard hit rates, strikeout numbers. A lot of that stuff is definitely down from last year. He hasn't looked as dominant this year, but because he is such a good pitcher, he's able to still, look up, and he has a ERA under 3. So the command, 1 month into the year, his command is better than it was last year. At least when it comes to his walk numbers, his walk rate is down. But like I've said in my other videos, the swing and miss stuff is a little bit down. And really the most notable is that he is not getting as many ground balls as he was a year ago. And the fastball has been much more hittable. So that's really been the difference from Yamamoto. I don't worry about him at all. And I'll get to him later on when we talk about my first month recap. But the 9th inning was a pretty cool comeback. Ohtani had 3 hits in this game, including a ground rule double in the 9th inning, which was obviously a huge part of them coming back. And then Kyle Tucker, big time, not just walk-off hit, but a 2-out RBI single. So it was, of course, a 4-3 game with 2 outs. So Tucker doesn't get that hit. Dodgers lose. Single up the middle, and they're able to score the 2 runs and win it. So pretty cool moment for Tucker. Definitely his biggest moment early on in his Dodger career. So pretty good game. We'll go to the next 2 games. Game 2, which was Tuesday night, Shohei Ohtani's on the mound. And the news, again, we saw this 2 weeks ago against the Mets. Shohei is not in the lineup as the DH. All right, actually, Dalton Rushing got the start as the DH and was leading off, which is kind of funny. So Shohei is just the pitcher in this game. It was another great start for him. The Dodgers, I should say this first, the Dodgers lost 2-1, so they had no offense. Shohei, another great start. 8 more whiffs on his 4-seam fastball, the electric heater. All right, his final line, 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 runs. One of them was unearned, so only 1 earned run. 3 walks, so command not as great, but 9 strikeouts. All right, so he was able to get those 9 Ks. Like I said, he had 13 whiffs in the game, and 8 of them were on that four-seam fastball. His fastball has just been crazy to start the year. It is statistically the best four-seam fastball in the game. So, according to run value, he has the best four-seam fastball in the game, and it's one of the best pitches overall in baseball. So, Ohtani's been great. Again, I'll talk to him later on. I'll talk about him more, but he looks like he's got a real chance at a Cy Young this year. And then the last thing with the offense in this game, no offense. They were 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position, left a ton of runners on base. 8 runners left on base. They only had 1 walk. Just, not a fun game. Just didn't do enough. Got shut down by the Marlins, who are not the greatest team pitching-wise. They actually do have a decent offense, play good defense, run the bases and stuff. But, yeah, just didn't do enough offensively. Game 3, which was a day game in L.A., last game of the series, Tyler Glasnow taking on Sandy Alcantara of the Marlins, who's had a nice bounce-back season. Glasnow's pitched great this year. Dodgers lost this game. All right, they lose by a score of 4-3. Glasnow had kind of a funky start, which was funky in that it was just weird because he pitched good but kind of didn't pitch good. Tyler Glasnow, 5 2/3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 6 walks, which is a crazy amount of walks, 9 strikeouts, and he gave up 2 home runs. So obviously, you see what I mean by weird start because he had 9 strikeouts. He only gave up 2 earned runs, but 2 of them were on home runs. Okay, and then 6 walks, which is such a high amount of walks, and it shows that Glasnow's walk rate before this start has been, he's had one of the better walk rates in Major League Baseball this year. This one game, 6 walks, messed up his walk rate so much that he now pretty much just has a league average walk rate. That's how much this start plummeted his walk rate. So, the 9 Ks is good, 6 walks is terrible. 2 of the 3 hits he allowed were home runs. So does it affect his overall stats in that he still has a great ERA, batting average against, a bunch of strikeouts? No. And he's pitched great overall. And again, I'll get to him later. But just good start from Glasnow. It was just kind of funky. He was kind of like a 3 true outcome. If you know what 3 true outcomes, walks, home runs, and strikeouts, that's literally what he did. Gave up walks, gave up some homers, struck everybody out. So kind of a weird start. No offense again in this game. 2 for 11 with runners in scoring positions, 9 runners left on base. So the final 2 games of this series were very identical. And that double play, if you watched, of course, bases loaded in the 9th inning. Dodgers down 1 run, 1 out. Freddie Freeman's at the plate. Grounds into a double play, hits a ground ball right to Xavier Edwards, the Marlins second baseman. Fields it, goes to tag Ohtani, who doesn't just run to second. He kind of tries to avoid the tag, run back. Freddie Freeman wasn't really running all the way, and then it was just an easy tag Ohtani, step on first, double play to end the game. That is a depressing way to end the game. I was actually at work when this game was going on, so I literally turned the game on, and Freddie Freeman's at the plate. So I'm like, oh, crap, Dodgers have a chance to win this game. And the first thing that goes in my mind is got to hit the ball in the air. Can't hit into a double play. So just one of those ways where you're like, the crowd was into it, bases loaded, you're like, here we go, about to walk it off, and then it's like, after that play, everybody's left like, what the hell just happened? So those kind of endings suck, and this series overall wasn't great. Dodgers have kind of gone into a little bit of a funk, one of those just weird funks, like they are not playing horribly, of course, but if you look at their last couple series, when they went into Colorado a week ago, or I guess 2 weeks ago now, they went in there hot, but then they split 2 out of 4 with the Rockies, who aren't really a good team. Lost 2 out of 3 to the San Francisco Giants. Then they took 2 out of 3 from the Cubs. Should have been a sweep. But hey, won 2 out of 3 against one of the better teams in the game. Then they play the Marlins, who are about a 500 team, and then they lose 2 out of 3 at home. So kind of one of those weird stretches right now that they're on. Still getting great starting pitching. The bullpen was actually much better in this series than they were the previous series. But the offense has not come all the way around as of late. They still have a great offense. I'm going to get into all that stuff. So that was a super quick week recap, but let's go to what we're really here to talk about. The first month of the season recap. So pretty much, the little bit of time of baseball we see in March, and then obviously all of April. Like I said, the next time the Dodgers play, it'll be May 1st. So I'm going to give you guys a ton of numbers, and then I'm going to talk about all the players pretty much individually. So I'll try to keep it moving because I do have to talk about like 30 different players. The Dodgers are 20-11, first place in the NL West, tied for the second best record in Major League Baseball. So overall, the Dodgers are off to a good start. And 20-11 is a good record, and there's actually been a lot of years where the first month of the season, the Dodgers have a much worse record. Sometimes they are only a couple games over 500, so kind of a big win that they actually still have like a pretty great record. So they are the best offense in baseball to start. All right, definitely one of the best, probably the best. Like I said, the offense slowed down as of late, so and a couple numbers around the league, there are other teams that are slightly better, but they are first in OPS and first in weighted runs created plus. Second in on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and batting average. They are second in home runs, and then when you dive deeper into some of these metrics, third in barrel percentage, they are fifth in hard hit rate, second in average exit velocity, first in expected batting average, expected slug, and expected WOBA. They also have the sixth lowest chase rate and the sixth lowest whiff rate. Those are important. Actually, the chase rate usually tends to be a little bit higher. They are a team that loves guys that don't swing at balls, that don't swing at pitches out of the zone, control the strike zone, like Max Muncy, Will Smith. They love hitters like that. The sixth lowest whiff rate is good. They usually are an organization that, at least from what I think, they don't mind guys to swing and miss. If you look at a lot of guys' metrics like Max Muncy, Shohei Ohtani even, those guys will swing and miss at times, but it really doesn't matter when they get on base at the rate that they do and hit for the power that they do. The fact that they have the sixth lowest whiff rate is great, especially when you consider Mookie Betts, who's one of the best contact hitters in the game, has been out for a few weeks now. He's not even in the lineup, so you can credit that to a lot of the guys like Freddie Freeman has drastically changed his K rate and contact numbers from what we saw a year ago. That's a big part of that. So, yeah, Dodgers aren't swinging and missing a lot. So the offense has been, again, I know they've kind of felt a little off as of late. And even with all these numbers showing that they're pretty much the best offense, they still have not hit anywhere close to their ceiling if you think about it. Because really throughout this first month, who carried them offensively? It's been a lot of Andy Pages. It's been a lot of Max Muncy. Obviously, Shohei's been really great. But there has been some inconsistentness in terms of like Freddie Freeman, where his numbers ended up getting cold to end the month of April. Same thing with Teoscar Hernandez. Will Smith has been a little bit up and down. There's a couple guys like that. Tucker hasn't gotten going. Mookie Betts has obviously been injured. So they're nowhere near the ceiling, and it kind of shows that, I think the offense is going to be fine. The pitching, all right, third in team ERA, second in starting pitching ERA, so they are one of the best teams in baseball with their starting pitching. The bullpen, they are 12th in Major League Baseball in ERA. That did come up over this weekend when they blew that save against the Cubs. The bullpen kind of went down to 18th. It's still very early in the year, so like one of these games where you have a drastic, somebody has a bad start, the bullpen or the offense ticks up a lot, a bunch of runs scored, that can drastically change a lot of these numbers because it's still very early. So, elite starting pitching ERA and then the above average bullpen ERA, you're going to take that. I would love to see the bullpen ERA get into the top 10, but bullpen as a whole has been okay. Definitely an improvement from last year. All right, second in expected ERA. They are third in K percentage, eighth lowest walk rate, which is another thing that is interesting. Dodgers last year did allow a ton of walks, so it's very good to see that, there are a lot of pitchers, especially in the starting rotation, are just pounding the strike zone. And again, like I said, Tyler Glasnow yesterday walked 6 batters. I guarantee this number would be even better if it wasn't for that. Guys like Glasnow, Yamamoto, Ohtani, there's been a lot of guys in the rotation that have been really pounding the strike zone. Not Sasaki, but Robleski as well. So overall, the Dodgers have been not allowing a lot of walks, which is great. They're second in batting average against, first in WHIP, second in FIP. So the pitching overall has been great. Specifically, the starting pitching has been arguably the best in the game. Pretty much it's either the Dodgers, the Yankees, or the Braves when it comes to starting pitching. So let's get into some of these players. I'm just going to talk about everyone, kind of give my thoughts on what they've done and where we're at, where we're at a month into the season with a lot of these guys' numbers and kind of what can we expect going forward. So I'll start with the starting pitching, and I'll start with the guy who I think has been the best, Shohei Ohtani. All right, he's got the lowest ERA in baseball. He looks like the ace of this loaded rotation so far. Ohtani's been super fun to watch. All his starts have been great. Even a couple of starts like we saw a week ago in San Francisco and against the Mets. Ton of swing and miss, ton of strikeouts. The velocity's even up a tad this year. He is just a fun guy to watch on the mound. He throws a ton of pitches. He's even changed up his pitch mix this year, throwing more splitters. The sweeper's just nasty and moves a lot. And then again, the surprise is probably the pitch that has been his best this year by far, his four-seam fastball. He's been great this year. We will see how the season plays out with Ohtani, given the fact that I think it's clear he wants a Cy Young. And obviously it's become a talking point. His offense has dipped a tad. Again, I'll get into that in a sec with the hitters. It's not really that it's not really dipped into anywhere bad. It's just dipped because of his crazy standards. I think that he's going to get hot at some point, and that narrative is going to go away. But you know, he's been amazing on the mound so far, and he's been really fun to watch. And we'll see if he can keep this up. If he throws enough innings, he's going to be right there in the Cy Young conversation. So the next guy, Tyler Glasnow, the guy who started yesterday against the Marlins. A 2.56 ERA with the best batting average against in baseball. The fourth best K rate in the league with the 12th best whiff rate. He's got a real chance at a Cy Young. It's all about health for him. We know that. He's got a lot to prove with his health. Okay, because he's had years in Dodger uniform in multiple uniforms, but his first year with the Dodgers, he was healthy all the way up until like mid-August, and then he got hurt. Last year he got hurt in like late April, didn't see him until July, so we got a lot of time left to go before Glasnow can kind of prove that he's healthy and he's here to stay. But he's made a start every time this year. He's pitched deep into games. He's getting strikeouts. He's got a chance with the way he looks right now, getting in the strike zone more. I know that yesterday he struggled with his command, but overall he's been great this year. He's got a real chance at a Cy Young if he could stay healthy. Yamamoto, I talked about him earlier, a 2.87 ERA, and he hasn't even looked completely locked in yet. He's going to get even better. I'm not at all worried about Yamamoto, but I would like to see some of the underlying metrics improve. Like I said, doesn't have as dominant as stuff, you know, when it comes to swing and miss and the strikeouts and all that stuff right now. But there's just no question in my mind it's going to improve, and I don't, you know, Yamamoto with an ERA of 2.87, that's great. So I think it's, you know, a chance that he gets even better. So keep it moving. Justin Robleski, the biggest surprise in the rotation definitely this year. He's got the third best ERA in Major League Baseball. Believe it or not, Justin Robleski. Will he continue this? No. Do I believe he can get outs as a starting pitcher and a reliever? Yes. I like Justin Robleski. He's really changed my opinion on him. He pounds the strike zone. He has pretty decent stuff. Again, considering that he gets no swing and miss and no strikeouts, he can't keep this up. You can't have an ERA that low if you're not getting any whiffs. It just kind of, you know, the ball's going to be put in play. It's going to be hard to continue that. But I like him. He is just a dog out there, a lot of personality, competitive, and there's no doubt in my mind he can get outs whenever he pitches. So biggest surprise so far, no doubt. Emmett Sheehan, the second to last guy we'll talk about with the starters, definitely the most inconsistent starting pitcher so far. And when I mean inconsistent, I mean really low lows, really high highs. Sasaki, who we'll talk about next, has been the worst, but he's pretty much just been bad every time. Sheehan has been inconsistent. All right, a 4.78 ERA, but he does have an expected FIP of 3.49. So that does show that he has outperformed some of his, innings, and he has outperformed some of his numbers so far. I think he's definitely going to get better as the season progresses. His last start, he looked great, and that really put a lot of confidence in me that the command, the velocity, the swing and miss stuff is all there. And he's healthy, because earlier in the year there was some questions with the velocity dipping. You know, was he truly healthy or not? He looks healthy. I think as the season progresses, you'll see his ERA start to drop, and we'll start to see some good numbers from Sheehan, and he'll climb back up there with the whiff and the strikeout numbers. So we'll have to see what happens with him. but I've always been a Emmett Sheehan believer. The last guy, of course, Sasaki, the most polarizing, the most interesting. A 6.35 ERA is top 20 worst in Major League Baseball. All right, there's no sugarcoating it. Sasaki hasn't been good. Some people seem to think he's battling to stay in the rotation, especially when you consider that Blake Snell is looming in the month of May. I don't think the Dodgers view it that way. I think that he has a rotation spot pretty much locked up for the entire year as long as he's healthy. If we go through the entire season and we get into August and September and he still has an ERA this bad and he just still is not looking good, then they will look to transition him to the bullpen if there's room and see if they can capture a little bit of magic like they did last year going into the postseason. But they're going to give him every opportunity. I don't think, I think, again, people might be annoyed by this, but when Snell comes back in a couple weeks, you're going to have Tyler Glasnow, Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Emmett Sheehan, Sasaki, and then Blake Snell as the sixth guy. So that probably means Robleski goes to the bullpen. Does it mean that he'll never get starts again? No. Does it mean Sasaki's job is like 100% locked up? I guess nothing is 100%, but the Dodgers just, I'll break it to the fans now, they don't view it like that. They're going to keep him in there and give him every opportunity to figure it out. They have more invested in him than they do Robleski. I mean, financially, I know that he's basically on a minor league deal because of the time that he came over and his signing, foregoing money to come over to the major leagues a little bit quicker. But at the end of the day, they have a lot riding on Sasaki, and he just has the potential is kind of unknown with Sasaki. So they're going to give him every opportunity. He is not going to the bullpen. I don't think he would go to the only way he could go to the minor leagues is if it was like horrible. Like if his command has gotten a little bit better to where his issues are kind of more like the fastball and other stuff like that. If he was just like had horrible command like we've seen at times, then maybe he could get sent down because he had to figure some stuff out mechanically. But the Dodgers just don't view it like that, and there are silver linings with him, and there are, possibilities for him to improve. The biggest adjustment right now that he's made is the splitter last start, throwing it harder. I did a big-time deep dive into that on my last podcast, if you're interested. It's going to be interesting to see in the month of May. I'll get to this at the end, what to look forward to in the next month. He's going to be right there at the top. We'll see if the splitter adjustment does anything. His next start will be in a couple days in St. Louis, so all eyes will be on that. So that wraps up the starting rotation. Rotation's been pretty great, all things considered. So let's go to the bullpen. All right, the first guy I have, Tanner Scott. It's definitely been a solid bounce back season for Scott. He's got an elite whiff rate, he's got an elite chase rate, and he also has an elite walk rate. Throughout Scott's career, he's always been a big-time strikeout, swing and miss pitcher who's never had command. He's allowed walks. Somehow in 2025, he changed that where he improved his walk rate drastically, but we know what happened with Scott getting hit around. Right now, he's got great numbers. The ERA is in a good place. He looks much better, and he also brought along the great walk rate that he had last year, so that's great. He hasn't been perfect. He has allowed a couple home runs in big spots, so he definitely has not gone to the ultimate trust in my mind where I want him to be the closer in absence of Edwin Diaz or anything like that. But he's definitely done as well as he can pretty much in this first month, showing that he's in a much better place. Blake Treinen, the next guy, a 4.15 ERA, but he does have an expected FIP of 3.40. All right, so a little bit unlucky. Back to getting an elite amount of ground balls. His ground ball rate is back to being really, really good. But my question is, has he lost the ability to generate a lot of strikeouts? Because he has a low strikeout rate right now, not getting the whiffs that he used to get. The velocity is actually still there with Treinen. He still's got the big sweeper, the great, sinker action, balls dropping, it's like bowling ball sinker. But he hasn't been able to generate the Ks that he used to. So that would be my question with Treinen. Is it just, he's a little bit older now? Is it, are we just seeing the regression? It'd probably be smart for the Dodgers to rely less on Treinen as we go forward. Not sure if he's the high leverage king that we're used to a couple years ago, but the fact that he's in the strike zone more than he was a year ago. And the ground ball rate is back, keeping the ball on the ground. That will definitely help, and he definitely has a chance to improve his numbers as the season goes on. I still believe in Treinen, but, not having those strikeouts that he used to have is what's kind of holding him back right now from being like a really, really solid reliever. But, the ground ball rate is good. That is a positive for sure. Alex Vesia. Even with his velocity dipping, he's still one of the best, one of the most underrated relievers in the game. There is nobody that I trust more in a big spot than Alex Vesia. A 34.1% K rate with a 37.8% whiff rate. That's elite. He's one of the best swing and miss, strikeout pitchers in the game. Even though he doesn't throw hard, even though, he only throws like 2, maybe 3 pitches, but really just fastball slider. He's left-handed. Like I said, doesn't really throw that hard. It doesn't matter. He's got the great induced vertical break fastball. I love Vesia, and he's off to another great start this year. Let's go to Jack Dreyer. All right, the K rate is up this year from a year ago, and he has an expected ERA of 2.91 with an expected batting average of 168. He's pitched pretty solid so far this year. Is Jack Dreyer elite? No. Is he a very solid relief pitcher? Yes. I like him. Great depth to have. One of those guys that can come into the game early, 4th, 5th, 6th inning. Again, he's improved the strikeout numbers, which is great this year. So we wanted to see that from a year ago where he didn't get a ton of strikeouts. I think he's a pretty solid pitcher. Again, another guy that has great induced vertical break. If he can continue to add the swing and miss and kind of just stray away from the home run ball, I like Dreyer. Solid guy to have. Edgardo Henriquez, all right? Enriquez, when I took a look at his numbers, they're actually a little bit better than I even realized. So he has amazing hard hit rates, barrel rates, and average exit velocity numbers so far. So he's not really getting hit hard. He also has an elite ground ball rate. He also seems to be finding a little bit swing and miss, a little bit more swing and miss. That's kind of been the one thing throughout his young career. Even though he throws super hard, he's never generated a ton of swing and miss and strikeouts. There's an elite pitcher in there somewhere. The question is, how much of it can we see in 2026? He is still very young, only 23 years old. He's still finding out a lot of things when he's out there on the mound. He doesn't pound the strike zone. He will allow walks. Sometimes he doesn't even know where it's going. He throws 2 different versions of a fastball, 4-seamer and sinker. I think at times he's trying to figure out like which pitch works for him, which breaking ball. He also will mix in a cutter. He's still very young, but the fact that he is that big and strong, throws that hard, and he's that young, there is an elite pitcher in there somewhere. The question is just, will we see that pitcher this year? Is it a couple years away with given his age, all that kind of stuff? We'll see. Second to last guy in the bullpen, Kyle Hurt. All right, he's been excellent in his limited sample size. I want to see more of Kyle Hurt to kind of see what do we have here. Former starter turned full-time reliever, dealt with a ton of injuries in the minor leagues. Interesting pitch mix. He pretty much just throws fastball, changeup. I don't love that pitch mix as a reliever. I do think he's incorporated a slider a little bit more now. But he's a big guy who throws hard. And like I said, in his limited sample size this year, about 6 innings, he's looked pretty good. So I would like to see more of Kyle Hurt and see, what do the Dodgers have here? Can he be a legit option out of the bullpen? So we'll see. Kyle Hurt, he's done as good as he can given his limited sample size just coming up a couple weeks ago. And then the last guy we'll talk about, Will Klein, all right? A 2.77 ERA with a 2.15 expected ERA. Those are both great. For some odd reason, he has a good strikeout rate but a super low whiff rate. That's kind of weird. Usually you don't see that. Usually whiffs generate to strikeouts. So he's not getting any whiffs, but he's finding a way to get strikeouts. So I don't know if that means a lot of early contact or, a lot of looking strikeouts. I don't know what the case is there. But regardless, an ERA of 2.77 is great. He also has a lot of great barrel rate numbers, hard hit rate numbers, ground ball numbers. He's looking great. He's been in the strike zone much more often than he was last year and just early on in his young career. Another guy I want to see get more of a chance, especially in high leverage, because I do wonder with Edwin Diaz out, with 2 of the Dodgers' best relievers right now being left-handed in Tanner Scott and Alex Vesia, and then also Jack Dreyer, who's been solid. He's also left-handed. I want to see if the Dodgers have something here with Will Klein, and could he become a go-to high-leverage right-handed reliever? Possibly. I think that it's somewhere in there. Maybe if Trinan continues to kind of regress or get older, do we have something here with Will Klein, the World Series hero? Interesting to see. We'll have to see how that plays out. So let's go to the offense. All right, I'm going to start with Shohei Ohtani. By his insane standards, it's technically off to a slow start. A 144 weighted runs created plus is still elite, so he's not really off to a slow start, but again, just by his insane standards, he has an OPS like right under 900. He's hit well as of late, though, an 868 OPS in his last 7 games. Quietly has a career high in walk rate right now, so he's walking a ton. The homers haven't popped yet. He doesn't have a ton of homers yet. Again, 5 home runs puts you on pace for like 35, 40 homers. So he just hasn't had the crazy hot stretch yet, but I think it's close because he's been heating up his last 7 games. No doubt in my mind, when the dust settles, he'll be a top 5 hitter in the sport. I wouldn't even be shocked to see him be second or third behind Yordan Alvarez and Aaron Judge, like he pretty much has always been. He's going to be fine. He's going to win his 5th MVP this year, especially given the fact that his pitching looks like it's going to be really, really good. Let's go to Kyle Tucker. Given the expectations and the contract, he's probably been the biggest disappointment so far this year. A weighted runs created plus of 100, which means he's been exactly a league average hitter. Am I worried about him? No. But am I antsy to see him play good? Yes, because he's a new guy who had a lot of excitement. I was excited to see him play, and he has yet to do much early on in his first month as a Dodger. So not worried, because I know at some point he's going to get going and he's going to have an OPS, in the high 800s and be one of the better players in the game. But I just am antsy because I just want to see it. I just want to see him get hot. So I would like to see, if you're asking me who do I want to see have the best May in for the Dodgers, I want it to be Kyle Tucker. So yeah, given the expectations, it's been a disappointing slow start, but it's 1 month and we still have like 4 months to go, so he can and probably will turn it around. Freddie Freeman, this is kind of interesting when you dig into the numbers. As a whole, and at the end of the month, the numbers don't look so great, but it's just kind of funny because for most of April, I felt like Freddie Freeman was hitting very well. A combination of unluckiness and a slump to end April. He only has a 332 OPS in his last 7 games, so just completely ice cold to end the month of April. But just to show how unlucky he's been, he has a 414 slugging percentage. His expected slugging percentage is 555, so nearly 150 points higher. One of the more unlucky hitters in the game this year. A lot of his metrics have actually improved from a year ago. Like I said, his strikeout rate and his whiff rate have actually been a lot better. His barrel rates, his hard hit rates, like he's hitting the ball very hard, not striking out. If you look at his baseball savant page, it's all red. It should implicate that he has an OPS in the 800s. So I think he's just been a little bit unlucky, and then he got cold this last week to end April, and that kind of tanked his numbers to just being like slightly above league average. So technically he's off to a slow start. Am I worried about Freddie Freeman? Absolutely not. He will be fine. Will Smith, let's go to him. I think he's a little bit banged up right now. I think he had a tight back. They've been playing Dalton Rushing a lot, and he's been great, so it's okay. The plate discipline has been the same old Will Smith. No, not chasing, walking a lot. The slugging is down 100 points, though. His slugging percentage is down a lot. He'll start hitting it at some point. There's no doubt in my mind. I just think he's a little bit banged up right now. And it's probably going to be very similar to last year, maybe even more so, that the Dodgers are going to keep him rusted, let Rushing play a lot, and Will Smith at the end of the year probably won't have the most gaudy like RBI and home run totals, but I believe he'll have an on-base percentage, over around 350 or higher, and his OPS will be 800 or higher, and I think he'll be fine, but a little bit banged up right now, so I'm sure they're just being cautious with him. Andy Pages, an amazing start for Pages, arguably their best player to start 2026. Did cool off a tad at the end of the month, but he hit 321 with a 366 on base, a 447 slug, and an 884 OPS. That's a monster start for Andy Paz. He's also 17th in Major League Baseball in WAR. He continues to play electric defense. He has an amazing throwing arm. He is off to a great start. Hopefully he can maintain this. He'll probably be an all-star if he is able to maintain this. I love me some Andy Paz. Hopefully he can just continue to improve his chase rate and his walk rate. That'll help his numbers out even more. He only has like a 6.5% walk rate, which isn't great. He's never really going to be a guy who walks a ton, but he's hitting the ball much harder, and he looks great. Max Muncy, the best offensive player for the Dodgers to start 2026. 6th in Major League Baseball in slugging percentage. He is 7th in OPS, 7th in weighted runs created plus. He's actually played solid defense so far. He has been the best Dodger so far in 2026. Off to a great start offensively, like I said. And if he keeps this up, he's going to have a career year offensively. Maybe not in the home run totals, but like the slash line, yeah, that's possible. If you go back a year ago to when he started wearing glasses, it's kind of funny, but he has been literally a top 5 hitter in the sport. It's completely changed the way he hits at the plate. It's brought his offensive level up a notch, and he's been fun to start 2026. We'll see if he can continue this. One of the better hitters in the sport to start out. Let's go to Teoscar Hernandez, all right? Quietly a bad first month from Teoscar. A weighted runs created plus of 96. That is below league average. Little scary given his age, given the year we saw from him a year ago. It's a little scary, a little bit of a little pause for concern. Confident he can improve, of course. The biggest question I have for Teoscar is why has he stopped hitting left-handed pitching? He's always been a guy who mauls left-handed pitching. A 630 OPS versus left-handed pitching in 2026, and it was also not great last year. What happened to him hitting left-handed pitching? I'm not sure why he doesn't hit lefties anymore. But there were times throughout April that he looked great and his offensive numbers were fine. He has just gone into a slump the last couple weeks to end April. I think he'll turn it around, and I still think he can actually have a very big season. But he's got a WRC plus under 100, so a little bit of a quiet, bad first month. Miguel Rojas, he's been amazing in the absence of Mookie Betts. A 137 weighted runs created plus. That is amazing. 13th best OPS versus left-handed pitching in baseball. And he also has been playing incredible defense at second base and shortstop. He's just been simply amazing in the absence of Mookie. When Mookie comes back, there's no reason why Miguel Rojas should get a lot of at-bats, especially facing left-handed pitching at second base. He's been amazing. Incredible depth to have, like a lot of these guys after him. Alex Freeland, all right, kind of an odd start. Okay, oddly, Alex Freeland has elite plate discipline. So he has a 20.6% chase rate. That's 22nd best in Major League Baseball. So he has an elite chase rate. He does not chase out of the strike zone. But he only has a walk rate of 8%. That is weird. If you have that great of a chase rate, why do you not walk at all? Or not at all, but like why do you have a walk rate that's not really that impressive? I really like him defensively. I think there's a really good player in there potentially. But he has a K rate of 29.9%. So a 30% K rate, that is way too high. That's highest on the team. If he continues that, he'll probably get sent down at some point to figure some things out. I like Alex Freeland. I think there's a very good player in there. But he's struggling a little bit right now. Let's go to Hae-Sung Kim. He's definitely made some improvements offensively. Okay, Kim, whose OPS is now 760. So it's dropped off a tad from his hot start. But the whiff numbers are down this year, so that's one of his improvements. A 31.4% whiff rate last year. Right now it's at 22.1%. So he's cut that down basically 10%. That's an improvement. The numbers have come down to earth, where for a lot of time he had an OPS in the 800s. Right now it's 760. So we'll see when a lot of guys come back, like Tommy Edman, Mookie Betts, Kike Hernandez, what Kim's role turns into. But he has made improvements, and with his versatility, he's played pretty good defense at shortstop as well. We'll see what goes on with Kim in the month of May, but he's made improvements, so that's what I like to see. Dalton Rushing, the second to last guy we'll talk about, kind of crazy, but he's been one of the biggest stories of the Dodgers season so far in 2026. I still love giving this number because he's the backup catcher and he doesn't have a ton of plate appearances. A 1271 OPS, so an OPS over 1200 with 7 home runs, and it's only in 52 plate appearances. He's second on the team with home runs in only 52 plate appearances. A really valuable player right now, especially if Will Smith is a little bit banged up right now, which it appears to be. He's playing incredibly, and we'll see how much of this Dalton Rushing can continue throughout 2026. The best backup catcher in the game right now, not even close. He's actually performed offensively a lot better than Will Smith. So he's been very valuable, playing a lot, doing a lot of great things. And I had high expectations for Dalton Rushing, and he has somehow blown my expectations out of the water. So, and then the last guy we'll just talk about quickly, Alex Call. 8.9% walk rate. That would be 4th in Major League Baseball if he qualified. Now, he's a bench player, so doesn't qualify. And on top of that, he's hitting .310 with a .459 on base. Great depth to have. He is been really great in his limited time coming off the bench, hitting left-handed pitching, plays pretty solid defense. So that's all my thoughts on the entire roster. The starting pitching has been great. The offense as a whole has been great with room to improve. The bullpen has been solid. Hopefully it can continue to get a little bit better. So what should we look forward to in the month of May? Well, Blake Snell will be returning from injury at the end of the month. All right, he just began his rehab assignment. I think he's made 2 starts, going on his 3rd. Once we get to about mid-May, May 15th, you'll start to hear the noise about him being activated within, the next week or so. So the next guy, Mookie Betts. Now, when he will be returning, I don't know. They have said that he could go on a rehab assignment this upcoming week. If that's the case, I think it'll be a quick rehab assignment. He won't need a ton of at-bats because he's only been injured for like a little less than a month now. He might only play like a little less than a week of rehab games, and then he could be activated. Could be back before May 15th. That's really nice. It all depends on how the oblique feels. It might be more towards the end of May, but we should see Mookie back. Brock Stewart is a guy who should be back within the next like week and a half or 2. He should be activated and join the bullpen. That could be a guy who could be a big, right-handed option out of the bullpen. Kike Hernandez should be back in the month of May. Him and Tom Yedman could possibly be more like June. It just depends on how they feel and how it progresses. But Kike Hernandez, Tom Yedman are also guys that we can look forward to in the month of May. And then lastly, before we close up, who do we need to see play better in the month of May? At the top of my list, it's Kyle Tucker. I need to see him do something in the month of May. I believe that he will, and I am not panicked about him. Like I said, I'm just antsy. I just want to see some good Kyle Tucker moments. Teoscar Hernandez, before I did some research, like I said, I probably wouldn't have even had him on here. But when you do some research and realize that he's actually been a below league average hitter, we need him to be better because he is a big part of the middle/bottom of the order. He's been swinging and missing and striking out and whiffing a lot lately. So need him to get hot and to start hitting left-handed pitching again. Get back to that, Teoscar. One of the 2 pitchers I have is, of course, Roki Sasaki. It's kind of obvious, goes without saying. Guys are going to be coming back from injury. Makes it a little bit more, makes it a little harder to justify keeping him in the rotation. Again, like I said, I don't think the Dodgers have plans of taking him out of the rotation, but, they got high expectations on the Dodgers. It's hard to run a guy out there every day who has an ERA over 6. We got to see improvements in the month of May. All right. Freddie Freeman, again, just because I don't like seeing an OPS with him in the low to mid 700s, but again, it's really just because he was ice cold to end the end of May. I think that if he gets a little bit more favorable luck, he's going to be fine. And I literally have on here, who do we need to see play better? Freddie Freeman, he will. In parentheses, he will play better. Will Smith, just get the back right. I know he's got the tight back right now. Just get a little bit healthier, and I think he'll be fine. And then the last guy, Emmett Sheehan, just continue to improve, continue to get better, prove you're healthy, and I think that his numbers will be in a much better spot. So those are all my thoughts. That was a pretty long recap. It's been a great first month for the Dodgers. Their second best record in baseball. And I just think all things considered, they haven't even got going yet. Hopefully the offense doesn't go into like a real cold spell. Hopefully they can break out of it this weekend against the Cardinals. And then I think they take on the Astros next during the week. And then after that, they take on the Atlanta Braves. So a couple of solid teams that they'll be taking on. I guess in terms of record, not so much because the Astros have horrible pitching. So they got some teams in the Cardinals and the Astros to take advantage of offensively. Both of those teams don't really have great pitching. So that's all I have for you guys. What are your thoughts? Leave them below. How do you think the Dodgers look 1 month in? Are you confident they can win this third straight World Series? Are you confident they're going to have the best record in the game? Are you worried about some of these guys that have struggled? Kyle Tucker, Freddie Freeman, who are you most excited to see come back from injury? Leave your thoughts in your comments below. I'll even chop it up with you guys if you would like me to respond. As always, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of the videos dropping. You can follow us on all social media at Talkin' Blue Pod. You can follow myself at Nick Talkin' Ball on X. That is all I have for you guys. We will see you this weekend to recap the Dodgers and the Cardinals. Thank you so much.